in your cell. It's gonna spoil, but it smells like hell. Locked up, your cell. RSP smells like hell. Locked up, your cell. It's RSP smells like hell. I think I'll put it's what you need.
Welcome back to Tied Down TV, the punk rock opinion show with me, Geoff.
I'm Danny.
Our special guest today, Mr. Dave Arnold. We're coming to you live from Guac N Roll Kitchen in Liverpool. It's a good place to come and get some nice vegan food if you're after it.
Where's the menu?
That's a good show. It's run by Mick Hell. And yeah, if you're ever up this way, you should definitely come and check out the food because it's awesome.
Yeah. So we're here today with Dave Arnold, obviously Jailcell Recipes fame, Terrorclaws, and lots of other punk ventures, I guess. So obviously Terrorclaws is what, as far as I know, is what you've been doing most recently. So what is going on? What is going on, and why are you not playing our Stalag 13 gig, Dave?
Oh, are you the promoters for that?
Maybe.
No, we would have been doing it, except we just lost a guitarist. He decided he had he just had enough.
Right.
And, you know, this isn't a career move, is it? You know, there's no money involved. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
And if he's not enjoying it anymore, then so be it.
Do you still get the same thrill you always got when you were a kid?
I think so. If I close my eyes.
Well, when I see you playing live,
what I mean by that is the big difference is, you know, hardcore. I mean, I'm in my 60th year. So I've been playing since I was 17 in various bands.
Yeah.
But it's just, as you get older, you stay the same, but your friends don't necessarily do the same. They seem to drop off. And go and that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not, you know.
Yeah.
So you're sort of relying on a new breed of people to come up.
That's right.
But the gigs here particularly are great.
Yeah, we're always talking about this place on our channel anyway, and we love it. We obviously love Mikey, we love everything that's going on here, and it's great that it seems to be like a community feeling. Yeah. And I think I said to Mikey once that I haven't really felt like that since Heaven and Hell.
No, this is it's like the hub, the centre of like Liverpool hardcore, isn't it?
Definitely. I in my opinion.
Yeah, same for me. That's how it feels.
Yeah, that's how it feels to us. But, so what?
If we spent some time this afternoon trying to figure out how to do a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And it
ended up like something out of an Abbott and Costello sketch.
So we've last minute we just rang these guys, contacted these guys and said, "Can we do it here?" And they're so obliging.
Yeah.
So thanks very much. For
that.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
So for you, this is something we recently interviewed Ron Baird, who obviously Stalag 13 is obviously a band who skating is like a close part of them. Yeah. Skating was a close part of Jailcells and your life. I want to know what came first for you, skating or punk?
Pretty much both at exactly the same time.
Really?
So, being aware, I was 76, I'd be 12, going on 13.
Yeah.
So discovering what I mean by skateboarding then was the craze, like the hula hoop craze, yo-yo, shitty little skateboard. But I'm like, what's that? I mean, I saw it on the Charlie Brown, the Snoopy cartoon.
Yeah.
I saw it on that, but it was clipped from the 60s. That cartoon, even though they were showing it in the 70s, was actually a 60s thing. And there's a bit where, like, the first boom of skateboarding is in the mid 60s. Yeah. It was related to that, and I just saw that. I was like.
So Snoopy introduced you to skateboarding?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So was it through skating you met Robbie Reed the first time?
Yeah.
And that was, obviously, how long was it before you started to play music together?
Not very long.
No.
I met Robbie, we played as the very first Jailcell, under the name Jailcell Recipes.
Yeah.
We played a gig in Warrington, an indoor roller rink that had a big ramp in it.
Yeah.
And it was what was the event called? It was like a Euro event. So there was like lots of like European skaters over there.
Yeah.
And somehow they'd heard that we did a band. We played the year before with the band that predates Jailcell, and so we played under the name Jailcell Recipes, and we did like a Black Flag cover and a couple of other things.
Nice.
With another guy singing, and he at the end of the gig he's like, I don't like it.
No,
I don't want to do it. And he was a skater.
Yeah.
And Robbie and a guy called Piggy.
Right. Yeah.
We're in the Sowers play, and I was aware of Robbie, and I got in touch with him through a guy called Simon Kelly.
Yeah.
And I remember getting Simon Kelly's number and ringing Simon Kelly up and going, "Hey, we're looking for a singer," and he's like, "Brilliant! You've not got Robbie Reed's number, have you?"
He thought he was in. He thought he was in.
I'm gutted now because I'm
Sorry, Kel.
You know, he never even entered my head that he might want to do it. I think Kelly would have been brilliant when he was a younger guy.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. But that's the truth. So passed that number on, and then pretty much straight away Robbie was like, "Yeah, I'm in." And it was like me and Jamie were from Ashton in Makerfield, which is about 500 yards outside of Merseyside, right on the border. But woolly bags.
Yeah.
And then Robbie, obviously, is from the Wirral.
Yeah.
But Ian, who was an old school friend of mine that skated when he was 12, 13, at the same time back then, he moved away as he was growing up, and he lived on the Wirral. He lived further than the Wirral. He lived sort of like, is it Irby? Is there a place called
Yeah,
Irby?
yeah, it's on the Wirral, Irby. It's up the back end, up towards...
Heswall.
Yeah, it's up
That's
the
where
back
he
way,
lived.
yeah.
So he worked out really good because we would, wherever we were rehearsing, he would pick him up and bring him over.
Yeah.
You know? And it worked really well.
I've obviously never got to see you in your pomp, as you say. I was at the Night of the Living Dead gig. My memory is very hazy from it, but I've read from various interviews that Robbie was awesome as well in the band back in the day. Like he was a really incredible frontman.
Like a wig on stick.
Really?
Yeah. When he grew, he got into he predated the what's that guy called? Zach from Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, right, yeah.
He looked like that.
Oh, really?
Like 9-10 months before Zach would like that.
Yeah.
But he was like super energetic, and we'd play gigs and be like, we'd come up against another band that was really good, and we'd be like, "Oh, they're really good." I mean, there's no point in saying. Let's be honest, right? When you're in bands, it's not competitive, but it kind of is competitive.
Yeah, of course.
It's like you get spurred on though as well, don't you?
You feel like your back's up against the wall.
Friendly competition a little bit,
and you'd be like, "Oh, these guys are good," and then you go, "Yeah, but we got Robbie." And
fucking hell,
and then Robbie would come out and he'd just do his thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of these, our contemporaries are our peers, the bands that were around at that time. I won't name them, but you know who they are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it hasn't really aged that well. But with the Jailcell thing, Robbie's like, it's so like indelible. You know, he doesn't put on an American accent. He's not giving it the old, he's not doing that. He just sounds like Robbie.
Yeah.
You know, and he does that on the fast stuff, the early, like the more hardcore stuff. But then as we go more melodic, he doesn't really change. His vocal, if you think about it, his vocal doesn't really change.
Yeah.
And I think 35 years later on, that's paid off. Because when you hear it, you go, that's Jailcell.
Yeah.
And also the name, like we picked that name. It's
a good name.
Where did that name come from, please?
It is a very good name.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, you know, again, at the time it probably worked against us because it didn't really conjure up, you know, extreme noise terror, deviated instinct, doom. Not Electro Hippies, that's kind of playful now.
But then you've got others like Napalm, Sore Throat, it all sounds aggressive, doesn't it?
Yeah, and brutal.
And brutal.
But with the Jailcell thing, again, I think over time, if you Google that word, like, you know, we used to play a lot with a band called Drive. You try Googling Drive and trying to find them. Yeah. It's almost impossible.
Was the members of Jailcells in Drive, or am I imagining?
Yeah.
There was.
It was the other way around.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So this guy Roach, who was the main guy in Drive. A couple of years previous, he was guitarist in Jailcell. Right. But there's also an Electro Hippies connection as well.
Yeah.
So the bass player in Electro Hippies, Don Murphy, he was guitarist in Jailcell.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
the name.
Yeah.
It comes from. What's that? It comes from a classified ad in a biker magazine. In the back, there was two ads. There was an ad called Biker Bail Bonds, and Jailcell Recipes. And the Jailcell Recipes thing was was a cookbook, like a zine, almost like a fanzine that you could send off for. And it was how to make prison food palatable.
Okay.
Bearing in mind that when you're in prison in America, like Texas specifically, there's a commissary? It's like you can only buy certain things, so your options are limited.
Right.
And I've got a copy. It's pretty rare.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's the
Look
book.
at that. Cool.
That's where the name's from. I was into bikes when I was a kid. Well, I kind of still am into bikes, but just caught my eye.
Look at that. How cool is that? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so the name was lifted from this.
Well, not
prison
just the name,
cookbook.
we did the whole thing. Because that cartoon drawing is pretty...
it's very cool.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd seen that before and wondered where it come from,
Yeah. So that's kind of... I mean, again, it's like a playful...
Yeah, of course.
Playful name.
Yeah.
But also, it seems to stick in people's memories.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, like, people would go, Jailhouse Menus.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Get the name wrong. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I think, again, over time, I think it's paid off.
Yeah.
Because it just... when you say that name, you don't think of that. If you Google Jailcell Recipes, that doesn't come up.
No, it doesn't. No.
It's just our band.
Yeah.
We've appropriated it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Very much.
So I take it you were pretty regulars in Planet X back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many
right
times?
from the get-go.
Yeah.
We played all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as many times as Carcass. But, not far off.
Yeah.
And I think we played maybe 3 of the different venues.
Right.
We played the old Planet with Youth of Today.
Yeah.
And I remember the toilets upstairs leaking, right? And piss. You don't clean cut Youth of Today, like white Nikes and piss. Like,
Still punk rock at the end of the day.
I know. But yeah, those early Planet gigs were put on by Peck.
Yeah.
A guy called Pete C.
Yeah.
And they would, Under Siege.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I can't remember which gig it was. It might have been Heresy and BGK played.
Wow.
And I drove a little like Jelly Mold Fiat 500, not the modern ones, on an original. And had massive Thrasher stickers on the doors, right? It was like mustard coloured.
Right.
And I was downstairs in the gig, right? And Pete C come running down. You better come up. And I went upstairs, and the car was on its roof.
Yeah.
And it was spinning around like that, upside down, because like a gang of scallies had come, tipped it over.
Cy Kelly told me to ask him about that story. He said, I said to, obviously we've got a few mutual friends, especially on Wallasey, me being from Wallasey, and I said to Brian and Cy Kelly specifically, is there anything you want me to ask Dave? Yeah. I said, is there anything you want me to ask Dave? And the first thing Cy said was, ask him about the time his car got flipped outside the Planet X.
We had to drive it, once it had been on its roof, the doors didn't fit anymore. We had to drive home with my mate, like
holding the door shut.
And then it just had to be scrapped. But yeah.
So is there any more like memorable Planet X gigs specifically that you can remember?
When Jolly did a solo gig.
Oh yeah.
Jolly was like a metaler. I'm sure there was something not quite right with him.
Right.
And he did like a solo gig, like with his bass.
Right.
Can you imagine that? You know, playing all the thrash classics.
Yeah. So, do you want to touch on now so obviously Poulton Road. That I would presume that was named so because Robbie lived on Poulton Road, the 7 inch.
Like a flop house. I don't know what. It wasn't a squat. But
it wasn't it Robbie who just lived there on his own.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's like this guy Midi. Who comes here?
Midi.
Midi, Peck.
Robbie.
And this guy called Sanjeev, who was an Asian guy who was the original singer for Carcass.
So the photo, I guess it's on the back of the record, is it? And there's a gangies outside on the wall on Mill Lane.
It's on the insert,
On the inside. I think that from what I can tell, 'cause obviously I'm from there, That's on the corner on Mill Lane's Junction. Is that? Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
And I went there recently.
Yeah.
And someone's stolen that sign. Honestly,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. But I'd say, is that? Are they some of the people who were living in that house at the time? Where
They had like it was communal.
like a meeting point,
Open door.
Point.
Yeah.
Well, not an open door as such, but they'd have parties there.
Yeah.
And, you had a core. I think P lived there at one point as well. And it was revolving. There was always like evolving, I should say.
Yeah.
Or is it revolving?
Well, it's like a revolving door, like people in, people out, people in, people out.
But it was. I think. I don't know how we came up with the concept.
Yeah.
We're going to, because again, that's a bit unusual for a hardcore band to put like a
being a Wallacey lad, though, I obviously love it. Do you know what I mean?
And then on the back, it kind of writes itself. So the front was like the brick wall, the Pulling Road sound. The back, like, instead of having photos of all the band, we put photos of where we lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a unique concept, I guess. So when was the first contact then with First Strike Records? How did that come about?
Well, the guy that ran First Strike, a guy called Alan Woods.
Yeah.
I've known Alan since I was 16.
Right.
He's got his background is he was a businessman when he was 16.
Right.
That sounds, I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but BMX, he wrote off to some American BMX companies without telling them how old he was and said, we'd like to sell your products.
Yeah.
And these guys wrote back and said, certainly. You know, so suddenly he's like the UK distributor for these like hot brands. When this is when BMX was like big.
Yeah.
Because I used to race BMX.
Right. Okay.
And I ended up being sponsored by him.
Right.
And then the BMX thing was like only a stepping stone, because I always skated.
Yeah.
And I introduced Alan to skating, and he started selling boards in his shop. And then when you start reading like Thrasher magazine, it's like, what's this? It's an ad for like Pusshead or Minor Threat or Stalag 13.
Yeah.
And then so the next thing, he's sending off to our Radical Records, buying records off MDC and what have you.
Yeah.
So before you know it, he's got a shop that sells BMX, skateboards, and he's selling vinyl.
Yeah.
Initially only in the small, but then it took off. It took off.
And obviously you release your album on there eventually, and it becomes pretty well known that the band themselves aren't too happy with the final product of the album.
Is this the first LP?
First LP,
Do you want to talk about it?
If you do.
Yeah, well, what happened was, let me just get this straight. So, yeah, we were playing gigs, and Alan was, I wouldn't say he was our manager, but he was a good friend. He had the van and he was driving us to gigs. And we played a gig with, I'd like to say Extreme Noise Terror.
Right.
It was at the Roby, George Roby in London. And Intense Degree maybe as well, maybe those three.
Nice.
And after the gig, we got approached by Shane, who ran a record label called Manic Ears, Calv, Calv Piper, he ran a record label called In Your Face. He was the bass player for Heresy, and Digby Pearson from Earache.
Yeah.
All three of them come up to us and said, do you want to do an album with us? And we were like, whoa. And then on the way home, we didn't say anything, well, let us think about it. And on the way home, Alan was like, well, you know, if they're offering, you know, because he'd done that, he'd done a 7-inch. The first 7-inch on First Strike was a band from Peterborough called Default.
Right.
That's a killer single that they did.
Yeah.
So he'd done a 7-inch. So we had 4 offers in one night. We had 3 from the people on the, and then Alan himself said, and we just felt like, well, he's our mate.
Yeah.
He's helped us get this far.
Yeah.
It would be a bit crappy to, you know.
Yeah.
So we went and did it with First Strike, and we went down to Lion Studios in Leeds, which is where Electro Hippies had recorded The Only Good Punk, which is really good recording.
Yeah, too right. Yeah. One of our favourites.
Yeah,
and I think Civilised Society had recorded there. So we went down there and it was great. I think we were there for like 3 days, recorded this album, and they sent us away with a cassette, and they just said, have a listen to that, and that goes on a Friday.
Yeah.
Have a listen to it, get back to us. So we'd have a listen to it, and it just had too much like wash, too much reverb on the vocals, and just going back to like Robbie's sort of quite unique sounding vocals.
Yeah.
It didn't suit. It was too.
Yeah.
You know. So Alan rang him up on the Monday and said, "We've had a listen to it, and it's cool, but we probably just need to come back in and roll back the reverb." And the guy was like, "Actually, there's a problem." He was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Yeah, we've accidentally recorded over the master tape with another band, and you know, to add insult to injury, it was sore throats." So that was it. It was gone.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't fix it. All we had was this.
Like a test pressing, was it?
Well, no, we had the tape.
Yeah.
But once it's committed to quarter-inch tape.
Yeah.
See what Alan should have done, and after that incident, forevermore, he spent the money and he bought the master tape, because with the master tape, the 8-track, you can go back in. You can fix elements of whatever, you know. So then we're like, pretty demoralising. Yeah. And we're like, well, we'll have to come back. And the guy's like, well, you can, but you can't come back for like 7 weeks. We're booked up solid. Yeah. So we ended up. Things just went from bad to worse. Don't ask me who the guy was or who recommended him, but we ended up recording some guy's mother's house. Right. And we just took over the front and back room, brought all these microphones and started setting gear up, and it took him like 6 hours to set all this stuff up, and he borrowed these mics, and then he went, right, we've got about an hour and a half. Right. And then he's coming back for the mics. Fucking hell. So, Robbie was sat on a couch with one of them like
he was
sat down doing what we thought was a guide vocal, but it wasn't. That's what ended up on the record. Yeah, you know, and the guy had no idea what he was doing. It was so badly recorded. Yeah, and it became an embarrassment to us, you know.
So the whole band felt the same, I guess.
Yeah, and that as well. But what do you do? Because so what happened was we spent good money on the original recording, which was played with trouble. We tried again the second time. That didn't work. Yeah. And then we went to a friend of ours who did that. He was in a band called Naffy Sandwich, which was sort of an experimental late 70s like punk dub reggae sort of band. Yeah. A guy called Jerry, I forget what his second name is. But yeah, we recorded. He hired some equipment in to try and fix it. So we had three bites of the cherry. We should have just like scratched it. Yeah. But we didn't, because we were in too deep. Yeah. So it came out, and we just sort of.
How was it generally met by the scene, though, so to speak?
I don't think people give a toss. It was okay.
Well, I told you, didn't I, not that long ago when we spoke? I said I found a copy of it in an Aladdin's cave in Stoke. I was like, fucking, it's the first Jailcell Recipes.
It is hard to find.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, and I paid for it too. Yeah,
I buy them in incinerator.
Well, I got it, and I'd spoke to you a few weeks before, and you told me that how you all felt about how it was generally seen, and I got it home, and me not being a musician, I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I have not got the ear that a musician has. So I was listening to this record and just thinking this is great punk rock.
I would agree though. Like I mean, as you know, I'm not a very good one, but I am a musician. Yeah. And I think, I mean, it's not my favourite piece of recording that you guys have got, but I don't hear maybe the problems you hear with it as much. Exactly, that's the difference, isn't it? I know what you're saying about the vocals, actually, though. To be fair,
I'm not going to put words into Jamie's mouth, but Jamie, he kind of joined. We had this guy Dominic, who was a bass player for Electric, and he left, and Jamie came in. He was only 17 when he joined, and like Jamie was like, "Yay! I'm in a band. Cool. Hey, we're doing an album. Cool." And all his mates like, "Wow, he's doing an album." Yeah. But then it came out, and his mates like, "Where's that album? Is it not?" And he's like, "Oh, I've lost it."
Very good.
You know.
So obviously we've got like maybe some exciting news for the people to come about that album. Maybe a bit late in the interview. Was it around this time? When was it around the time you started playing with Green Day?
Right at the end.
Was it after the album came out?
Which album? The
first album. Yeah, it was.
90,
I was going to say, because it would have been early 90s, wouldn't it? You played with Green Day.
Because it was 89 the first LP.
Recorded in 88.
88, right?
But
Okay.
with all the hoo-ha,
Yeah.
it didn't come out till 89.
89, right? Yeah.
So first LP is 89.
Right.
Release. The Pulton Road thing is 89.
Yeah.
7-inch. And then I think the second LP is November 1990.
Which it sets us up for a good question from a mutual friend, Brian Sale. He wanted me to ask you, so I put him on the spot. I said, give me a question to ask Dave. And the first thing he said was, ask him to tell you who did the artwork for 2 Years of Too Fake.
So yeah, that was talk about putting a guy on the spot.
Yeah.
Our band, we played with a ton of like super cool American bands.
Yeah.
You know, Naked Dragon, Bad Brains, Corrosion Conformity, All, which was like the
Descendants without Milo in it.
Yeah.
Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits.
Yeah.
You know, all these bands. But we got to play with All, and we knew that Carl Alvarez, he used to do stuff for the All covers.
Yeah, he did Allroy, the mascot, didn't he?
I'm not sure whether he did.
Did he not? I thought he designed that because somebody else designed mine. I don't know. Yeah, anyway.
Maybe he did. I don't.
To be researched.
Digressing anyway.
But, so we got this opportunity to play with them, which we did at Planet X.
Okay.
And I remember like, hey, you're good at arts. Will you like sticking this piece of paper and a pen? Yeah. Just any chance you can draw as a record cover. Well, you, no matter how good somebody is, right? If you do that, it's dark. You're in the back of a van. They're about to go on and play.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
Yeah.
So he did this thing, and we're like, wow, yeah, it is done by Carl Alvarez, yeah, but he spent like, 2 minutes.
Still cool that it's Carl
2
Alvarez.
minutes doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's done by Carl Alvarez.
Yeah, this was the first thing, Brian. Give me a few. That was the. I'll put him on the spot. Quick, give me a question to ask Dave. Ask him if he did the artwork to 2 years.
Can we circle back just to touch a Green Day a minute? Obviously, you mentioned them. Just out of curiosity, obviously you played with them. Probably
we did a whole tour.
Your whole tour with them around the Kaplunk album, is that right? So was there a sense, could you feel, because obviously the next album was Dookie, which was the one that took them like stratospheric. Was there a sense, could you tell, have a feeling that they were gonna
no, they were obviously
make that jump?
They were super good.
Yeah.
And you just knew, and they just had total command of their instruments. Like any other band would plug in using the same amps and the same PA and would just sound fuzzy but they just sounded they just had it, whatever it is.
Yeah. I said that to you, didn't I? Sometimes you can just tell when a band's got something that's going to take them far.
None of us knew that
I mean,
they were going to God stratosphere.
Yeah, I suppose, but
I mean, they were just kids, like literally just kids away from the mum and dads for the first time ever in Europe on holiday.
Yeah.
And we got on like a house fire.
Well, funnily enough, only last night while I was doing a little bit of research for this interview, I did actually read a small segment of an interview with Billy Joe, and he was very complimentary of Jailcell Recipes.
Blast.
Yeah.
I hired, when we did that tour, I think we did like, I can't remember, 4 or 5 days. Couldn't do them all. There was a couple that, for some reason, we couldn't do the Scottish days.
Right.
We did them at all the others.
You played Southampton and stuff, didn't you? I remember reading that,
but when I lived, there was a corner shop, that sold like milk, pies, and Kit Kats. And it had a big sign in the window. It said, "Video camera for hire." And I'm like, how much is it going to cost you? Like £25 for the week. And it was about this big. You had to put like VHS, big VHS. And I rented this camera, and we like made it. I wouldn't say we made a documentary, we did, but we filled like 2 or 3 tapes full of stuff, which have all got lost.
Wow.
Except one of them, relatively recently, last 2 or 3 years, has showed up on some Brazilian, like Green Day fans site, and it's like 10th generation.
So it's been copied and copied, kind of like
But you will watch it because that's all that exists.
It's I will. Absolutely.
It's filmed by us.
Wow.
But people slag Green Day off saying they're not punk and all that. They just were having a ball.
Yeah.
Those dates that they played in Scotland in the middle of winter, When I say like, you know, December,
and Scottish winter as well.
They slept on a garage floor.
Yeah. They paid their dues, didn't they? I don't think that can be argued. Like.
And also, they haven't really changed. Musically, they haven't really changed.
No, I heard somebody else say once that Green Day, it never sold out. They played the same music they always played. It's that people came to them.
Exactly.
They didn't change to get the people.
Yeah.
People just found them. They were good songwriters with good songs, and you know,
and the chemistry was.
And the chemistry, all the stars align.
It's not everybody's cup of tea.
No,
you know?
absolutely.
Well, I don't think you can deny that he's a great songwriter.
No. And I think for our generation, we've talked about it, haven't we? Like, you know, they're a big band. Green Day, you know, we grew up in the 90s, so
they punched through into the mainstream.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know, when you're a kid, you know, you're not going to find out about Neg Approach or whatever. You just, how are you going to find out?
You have to start somewhere, don't you?
Somewhere.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that first patch that you buy and like sew on your jacket, except you can't sew it on, so you sort of like safety pin it on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's to be applauded.
Absolutely.
So, just going back a bit, like we did an episode a few episodes ago about obviously thrash gig and all that, and all Foxy's gigs and that, and I'd often said to my bunch of friends, I always wondered where the connection to Frank Sidebottom was. He seemed to be very much aligned with SSS and all this, and it was such a strange meeting of things. I always wondered where it came from, and I randomly found out that you had a big part to play in that.
I did, yeah.
So, obviously, Chris Seavey, Frank Sidebottom. When did you? Where's your involvement there?
Well, Jamie, the guitarist, the young 17-year-old I was telling you about, when he joined the band, just before he joined the band or whatever, he introduced me to Frank.
Right.
He was a big Frank fan.
Yeah.
And I heard it and I was just like, you either hate it or you love it, right? And I'm like, that's fantastic. And then you realise that, you know, he's playing every week in Timperley, which is only, for me, it's only like South Manchester.
Yeah.
So we'd go and watch him and just got reeled in and just thought it was the best thing ever. There's a parody, Frank. The last track on that Energy and Entertainment World, the last track is a Frank Sidebottom parody.
Right,
it's a mashup of Kick Yourself, which is a Jailcell song, Screaming for Change, which is a Uniform Choice.
That's right,
yeah, just them two, but like done in the style of Frank Sidebottom.
Yeah. Nice.
You know, and people, it got to a point where we made our own head, and like we'd go to gigs, and Jamie would come out as like a Frank impersonator. But it was sort of like, it was Henry Rollins, but done as Frank Sidebottom.
Okay.
So we'd do all like the
big stunts,
posture, and you're like, you're with Frank now. All that.
Nice.
People, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
You know? And then I got to know the guy.
Yeah.
It's too long to explain.
Yeah.
I got to know the guy.
Yeah.
That was it. Alan at First Strike. When we recorded the second LP, the 2 Years of Two thing, we recorded two Freshies songs. Now Freshies was the band that Frank Cassidy was in before, which is kind of like pop punk,
power pop sort of sound, isn't it? Yeah, that big.
We recorded two of the songs, and they were going to come out on a 7-inch, but we ended up. Some of the band weren't happy with it. We rushed them really. We didn't give them because they were added on at the end.
Yeah.
We probably, when we recorded that stuff, we probably bit off more with the studio time that we had.
Yeah.
So they were sort of not that great. So they never saw the light of day. But I remember Alan writing to Frank and Chris.
Yeah.
And saying, we've recorded these songs and he wants to put them out, and he wrote back and said, good luck, if you can make any money out of them, because I couldn't. But then I ended up, somehow I ended up working for him as his sort of road manager driver. Don't ask me, that's a whole podcast.
It's an interesting tidbit though, just that connection, isn't it?
Well, you're a big fan, aren't you?
I am a fan, and I love the Freshies as well.
And Foxy particularly knew that I had that connection. They were like, we're doing this is it the Dividing Line?
The second SSS record.
And it came with the free 7-inch.
Yeah.
So I brought him down. He went down to the rehearsal stroke recording space and recorded that stuff just on the fly. Got like Slash with a small moustache. And all that. Skate and distress. Just made it all. Just made it all on the spot. And I believe there's video footage of that as well. Yeah, it was just crazy. I was always he went as a kid, you know, going to the thrash gigs. He'd be popping up everywhere.
Even just on like a flyer or pictures of him and stuff.
A lot of hardcore kids, right, can relate to Frank. 'Cause Frank's like a 35-year-old kid who's still living at home. You know, he likes punk rock. I think if you look in the mirror, a lot of people can identify with Frank. Plus, the whole thing with Frank is a complete and utter wind-up. The whole thing
some of his interviews.
How much of your time can I waste? Because Chris Seavey spent years. I think he had something like 22 consecutive flop records as the Freshies. And then just went, you know what, I'm sick of this. And as like a knee-jerk reaction to that, he came up with this really irritating character with a paper mache. Sort of like the antidote to all that. And then it just backfired. Well, it didn't backfire on him but it took off, and that made him famous. And I think ultimately it became a problem, because he wanted to be recognised as in his own right. Not hiding under that. But it's amazing when you've got that head on how what you're willing to say. You know, how far you'll push people's buttons. You know.
Yeah, it's fucking great. So, obviously going on about like Frank Sidebottom and stuff like that. Tell me about this band, the Stags. I've seen them everywhere popping up on like social media. And I only know you're involved because I've seen you in various posts. Tell us about the Stags. What is the Stags?
I've always been into the punk thing. Whether that's Sex Pistols, Clash, Crass, Sucks Pink Indians, Discharge. You find out about Black Flag and American stuff. But somewhere along the line, you start to realise that, you know, punk doesn't start with Sex Pistols.
No.
Or even the Ramones.
No, definitely not.
You got MC5. You've got like 60s garage bands, which are like kids in America with shitty K guitars that they bought in the catalogue. Playing in the mums and dads' garages, and they're trying to be the Kinks, they're trying to be the Beatles, they're trying to be the Rolling Stones, but they can't do it because they're not from Liverpool, and they've not got the chops, so they're slightly out of tune, inept, and the lyrics are more about drinking milkshake or eating hamburger or whatever. And it comes like this twisted garage punk thing. So Stags is kind of like that, but there's quite a musical side to it. So there's like, we've got like an organist, a saxophone, and we've got a girl singer. Well, we've got a girl and guy singing. But it's very sort of theatrical. The hardcore thing is it's just generally for people, you know, in the cities, just blasting through it. The Stags thing, we get to be more theatrical. It's almost like it's not cabaret. And it's not pantomime.
Because I've seen the outfits. So if someone was coming to a Stags gig, what could they expect?
I'm not telling you.
Okay, I'll have to come.
You have to go.
You're playing here soon,
we'll
have to go.
For sure.
So, all right then.
I've been doing Stags since 2001.
Okay.
But again, you know, there's periods of time when you're inactive and don't do anything for a year. Again, you know, the whole thing, it ain't a career move. It's just a distraction from real life. You know, and it's a way to get your feelings and aggression out, or just a creative outlet, really. You know.
So I've got to ask you as well about these young kids that played here a few weeks ago and blew all our eardrums out. I know you're involved in some way in Slutch. Obviously, they played a gig a few weeks ago in here. No one knew what to expect. I'd seen a couple of the kids at a couple of the gigs here. Didn't know they were in a band. They set up, and before we knew it, our faces were like that. Tell us about Slutch. How are you involved with Slutch?
Okay, so Slutch is obviously I'm still involved with the skateboarding thing, and just before COVID hit, we set up like I don't know what you call it, a gang, I suppose. It's actually a girl gang of like skateboarders. Because the female element back then was like it was very male dominated.
Yeah, of course.
And so these kids started being in my life. I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
Young kids, you know, with their parents.
Yeah.
And then I think we took a couple of them to 1 in 12 club to see this D-beat band from Sweden called Axtrash.
Nice.
And like Gracie was like 10 at the time. It was just like, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
And then I knew that James played the guitar. James got involved, even though he's not a girl, whatever.
Yeah.
He's on the periphery of it. He was part of our gang. I knew that he could play guitar. And then another girl that we knew who was starting to learn to skate. I knew that she played the drums. So you might.
Yeah.
So the two of them got together first, drums and guitar, and they were looking for a bass player. And then Gracie was like, "I'll do it." And we were like, "What do you think?" And lo and behold, she picked it up.
Yeah.
But just helped him out with places to practice. Making sure they had, make sure they had good equipment.
Yeah.
And just as best as you can to try and steer them right.
Yeah.
Well, they're definitely one to watch, I think, personally.
It's, when you're a kid, it's like there's all these like huge pitfalls when you think like, and we're just trying our best to avoid all that and navigate without putting too much restriction on what they should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And they just played this weekend at the Levy Punk Festival.
I saw
them playing under a bridge. Yeah.
Not only that was sort of an illegal ghetto squad.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
But then they also, after that we went to the festival and they went, the first band's pulled out, do you want to play? So they opened the festival as well.
Amazing.
But we rehearse at Vulcan in town. And we take them there, and like people will be like, without seeing them, just listening to them, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Who's that? When the sound that they make doesn't equate to how they look. And people are like,
well, that's kind of what you said, what we were like, wasn't it, when they played in here? And it was a bit like, okay, this is going to be interesting, and then all of a sudden we were both like, whoa.
Well, I think it kind of be easy to see a bunch of kids getting on stage and thinking, oh, here we go. You know, if you come to a
like
hardcore gig,
School of Rock.
And you can't look at it, you're kind of thinking, oh, here we go. But literally, as soon as that plec hits that guitar with them, honestly, I remember turning to you and flipping like that.
Well, and after it as well, we both kind of said, you said, like, I feel like I need to go and listen to Bleach now, because it kind of reminded us of like
Bleach,
early Nirvana kind of sound.
They're very naive, and I'm not using that in a negative way.
No, I think that could be a good thing sometimes.
I mean, what's great about these gigs here, to Guac, there's a bunch of new kids, and they don't give two toss.
No.
Like, they're going to do what they want to do. They're gonna dance how they
carving their own way in it. Like,
it's not become regimented.
No.
You know,
which
as long as
is what it should be.
are like not gatekeepers. Because I'm 60, I'm still doing this. You need kids coming up.
Absolutely, and you need them to bring their own flavours and their own styles,
because not hold it against
because it goes stale otherwise, doesn't it? And punk and things is supposed to be about freedom, really. And
I've noticed with Slutch, they played. There's a guy that puts the Means to End gigs on, a guy called Steve. I don't know his second name. He's so supportive of them. They played a couple of times, and when I noticed that, like the third time they played, like the people that were coming to watch him were bringing their kids. The kids are like, so it's like, it's the bacterias.
And that's it. It's and the whole thing, isn't it? They say, well, like when people were first getting into punk, it was because you saw someone on stage and went, I can do that. You're not watching like a big stadium band, you're watching someone 2 feet in front of you. And if you're a young kid watching another young kid do it, it's going to be even more of that, like, oh, I could do that. Definitely. And like you say, it lights that fire in some people, doesn't it? And and that's the joy.
They're really sort of unassuming as well. Like,
but they just seem like they're cool, down to earth.
Well, it's the kind of thing you can't help but watch it and smile.
And and enjoy it.
It might be, who knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I don't know. But there's no agenda, and that's something I instill into it. This is not a career.
No.
it might be.
If it becomes one,
But the more you try, the less chance there is it's going to happen.
100%.
In my experience.
Yeah.
So, just to end on something, we've got an update on the first Jailcell Recipes LP.
It's not just the first LP. So basically, just to tie all this stuff together, so that record that we've been so embarrassed about for 35 years, kind of wished it didn't exist. What happened was, my good friend who we talked about earlier, Alan Woods, who ran First Strike, became seriously ill, and he was in like ICU and the HDU, so that's intensive care and high dependency units, in and out of there for something like 2.5 months. I was the first person that went to see him outside his close family. He doesn't have a lot of family. It's like his wife, 2 kids. I was the first person to go see him. I went to see him, and he was like this. He was like, Dave, we've got to fix that first Jailcell Recipes LP. And I was like,
that's what he's thinking of.
You died, and they brought you back to life, and you've been like, and but it's one of them things. It's almost like it's like Christmas Carol, Scrooge. There's those. There's time to reflect on the thing. And we never held Alan. Alan only tried his best for the band.
Of course.
It's just like a comedy catalogue of errors. So he said that to me, and then I thought, well, I'll speak to Jamie. So I spoke to Jamie, and Jamie was like, well, I've still got the master tape, the thick one. It's of a crap recording. We haven't got the original, which was a good recording. It could have been fixed in half an hour. That's gone.
But that's gone.
But we've got the crap one. So we found a place in London, and we had the tape. Nowadays, you can get tape baked. You can't, if it's been left for any length of time, you can't just stick it in the machine and play it. It just knackers it. So you have to have them baked under like scientific conditions. So we had it baked and we had it digitised, which means then we have the stems. So the stems are like, you've got the drums, you've got the guitars, you've got the backing vocals, you've got the bass, you've got all these 8 tracks. And then we approached the guy to work on it, and he's 35 years further on, the technology's it's called. We haven't done that much to it, to be honest. It doesn't sound like otherworldly. It doesn't sound, but it sounds like it should have done when it came out.
Right.
So basically, it's going to be like a retrospective release.
Right.
So it's not a discography by a long shot, but it's probably like it's our strongest hand.
Okay.
So it's not the entire first LP. It's like 9 tracks off the first LP, which make up side 1. And then side 2 is tracks from the Pool Road EP, selected tracks from the second LP, and then there's 3 unreleased tracks that we recorded at the time that never came out. Right. And they've all had this treatment to them. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to come out with a big thick booklet.
Nice.
Mainly unpublished photos. I've given you guys some photos.
Thank you for that so much.
It's cool.
Absolutely. Probably
it's kind of hard that we've been so embarrassed about this and sat on it and all this time. It's hard to not be protected. But the time has come to, and we're probably the last band of that era. Your Heresy, your Ripcord, your Extreme Nice Terror, Napalm Death, all of them have done reissues.
100%.
Except us. So we're kind of like the last to do it. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm it's gone from being an embarrassment to something I'm going to be really proud of.
When do you think that'll be released?
It's all happening right now.
Right.
It should be going to. But again, the people who've stepped up to help. You've got. We're like, who's going to do the cover? So Alan's like, I'll speak to John Yates. John Yates did the original First Night logo. John Yates does a thing called Steelworks. He's been doing that since the 90s. He went to work for Maximum Rock and Roll, and he worked for Jello Biafra, Alternative Tentacles. So he's done the cover for us. He's done the last 3 Alkaline Trio covers.
Okay.
And he's done our cover.
Wow. That's,
stoked on that.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've got a guy who's an old friend fan that's doing the distribution.
Yeah.
Because it's okay, anyone can make a record.
Yeah.
If you've got the money.
Yeah.
It's selling them.
Yeah.
Getting them out to the people.
to
listen.
So we've got someone who's doing the distribution.
Nice.
Yeah.
We've got a guy who helps us do the cover, the photo, that ties it all back in with the original first LP cover. Marco McGill.
Yeah.
He's helping us out with like social media promo and stuff. So all these people, it's just amazing. And in a heartbeat, they've gone, yeah, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Just shows you what it meant to everyone back
Well,
in the day.
I said
doesn't
to
it?
you, didn't I? Funny enough, like, you feel like maybe you might correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the appreciation for the band has only grown since the absence.
so.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe even slowly, but it seems like
I think so. It'd be interesting to see whether it's a damn squid or whether anyone gives two hoots about it. But I'm not really bothered.
No.
It'd just be nice that it exists. And another really good friend of ours, Will Smith, that we know through. He used to book gigs in Northern Ireland. We went to Northern Ireland a couple of times.
nice.
Well, not really nice.
No, I was going to say no, not really. Yeah. During the troubles, like,
Well, how many bands would go?
Yeah.
And we went, and he accommodated that and advocated for us that we should go.
Yeah.
And became friends. He founded a BMX magazine called Dig, so they've kind of become like, I'd say, the authority on like BMX nowadays. They're kind of like, to BMX what Thrasher is to skateboarding.
Yeah.
So Will has given his time, and he's laid out all the booklet and stuff, and so that's really good.
Nice.
I'm looking for the booklet's going to be, to me, it's going to be as good as important as the music, you know.
Yeah. I've seen some great images. What you showed me is brilliant, old photos and stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good.
We kept our powder dry all the time and just not like let any of this stuff out.
Yeah.
So it's funny how things just come around, and again, the whole catalyst for it was Alan being so ill.
Yeah.
Being one of his big regrets.
Yeah.
That the record was so poor, but it was really his fault.
Yeah.
feels like the time's right.
I recently met him in here. He was in here with his dog, and Cy Kelly pointed him out to me, and he came over, introduced me to his dog. He was very, very nice. You know what I mean? So it's nice for him as well. Very, you know what I mean? He was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've known him since he was 16, I was 17.
Yeah.
But again, punk rocker through and through.
Yeah.
And he's only got worse. It's like I say worse, better.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I know. I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know, he's very active. He's an activist.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Thanks for all your time for this. You know, I'm really glad you come out. But it is the Tied Down Punk Rock Opinion Show, and we've got to put you on the spot. What is your top 5 punk rock albums ever?
God.
We asked Ron. You got to do it. Ever.
Just today. It could change tomorrow.
Yeah.
Couldn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Today,
What would you pick right now? Punk, hardcore, across the
can I
spectrum.
take 4 records?
5
albums or singles, or doesn't matter.
We normally do albums.
album, but for today, because it's Dave Arnold, because it's DA, we'll let you.
God, that is a hard question. It's got to be Discharge. Why?
Why? Yeah.
For sure. It is essential. Jerry's Kids
Nice.
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think Ron talked about that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Ron picked that, I think, didn't he?
Got to be a Black Flag record.
Yeah.
Probably My War.
Nice, that would be my pick.
Your
as well,
favourite,
my
yeah.
And
favourite.
probably over time, I hated it when it came out.
Side
2.
That's amazing.
Of My War.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so intense.
I'm with you on that, yeah.
Yeah.
But when it came out, I was like, what's this
Yeah,
shit?
I know
Yeah.
it turned a lot of people off, didn't it? But
Probably Crash Feed and 5000 record was mind blowing.
Yeah.
still is now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first heard that, it was like,
Yeah.
you know, because before I heard Crash in like probably 79. You know, there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
But quickly, some stuff started.
Of course,
Yeah.
The scene built around them, didn't it?
Yeah. You got one
have we
more.
done 5?
You need one more.
From any period.
Any period.
anything.
Saints and Sinners by Johnny and the Self Abusers.
Nice.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is? That's
No, but I'm going to check it out
Yeah,
when I get in.
Simple Minds before they were.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't mind
Before
some early Simple Minds stuff I quite like.
Saints and
But
Sinners.
Yeah.
Nothing else, just that one song.
okay.
So,
It's a 7-inch.
Yeah. Excellent.
so Dave Arnold, thanks
Yeah.
for the interview.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to Guac N Roll.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely.
to Mike and Callie.
Yeah, for having us and letting us do it again. Thanks so much. And yeah,
Say your bit.
thanks for everyone for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, ring that bell.
Was supposed to
Some
be
gigs, yeah.
some gigs.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
gigs coming up this week with Guac N Roll.
When's this going out?
This will be later tonight.
Will it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you hear that? How efficient these guys are. It's going out later tonight. All right,
That was.
So, what's the? Is that this Wednesday?
Yes. So that's
So what day is that?
31st of July.
Wednesday, 31st of July.
Prudon,
Prudon.
Horse Bastard and Thumbsucker.
Just like, go on, you say them. You're better than me.
And on Thursday, 1st of August, we've got Stalag 13, Hardcore Legends, playing with Inflictor and Box Cutter. So make sure you come down to them.
There you go.
Got some other stuff too. You've got Stupid's coming up on the 5th. Stupid's Chaotic Discord
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Public Serpent. Public Serpent.
New York.
Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of scar stuff, not really, you know. They played here before, they were.
Don't be so apologetic.
But the short and long of it, there's a lot of good gigs happening here, isn't there, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, come down and support this place.
Definitely should come down. Like we said, amazing food, great records, great people. Look at the wall. Look at all them fucking flyers. It's amazing. But yeah, thanks for watching anyway. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, jump on the socials, Insta, Facebook, all that. Give us a like and a follow, you know what to do. See you next time.